Wavesound Audiobooks presents an unabridged recording of Should We Fall to Ruin by Harrison Christian, narrated by David Tredinnick. The dedication reads, For Lenny. Author's note. In early 1942, the Empire of Japan began a stunning conquest of the Pacific, and the old order that had presided over the ocean for hundreds of years came snapping down like a rickety scaffold. British security in the Far East was exposed as a fiction. Hopes and assumptions about the Americans were disappointed. Complacent ideas about the fighting abilities of the Japanese were proved scandalously incorrect. It was, in a word, shocking. The Allies could scarcely believe or understand what was happening. The world had been focused on the war in Europe, but now Japanese ordnance was falling on Australian cities, and colonials throughout Asia and the Pacific were fleeing before Hirohito's armies. One of the first casualties of this new war was Lark Force, a battalion of men and women sent to guard the tropical frontier between Australia and the Empire of Japan. Lark Force is seldom mentioned in history, for reasons that are not hard to fathom. No glorious or close-fought battles awaited them. Their station in the Pacific, the New Guinea port of Rabaul, was almost unheard of. They were dropped there with no modern equipment, no good leadership, no lifeline to the outside, and no means of escape. Their government had privately written them off as hostages to fortune, and fortune was a fickle host to leave them with. When the Japanese reached Rabaul, Lark Force simply ceased to exist as a unit. All were killed, captured, or sent into hiding. Most were lost in the sinking of Montevideo Maru, which remains Australia's worst sea disaster. Others were executed and buried in shallow graves along the coast. And yet, for the battalion's few surviving soldiers and nurses, the fall of Rabaul was the beginning of a long adventure. Some were destined to make uncanny appearances later in the war, fighting the enemy on other fronts or witnessing the collapse of the Japanese Empire from the inside. What follows is an account of their stories. This is a work of non-fiction and, fortunately for me, its protagonists were all rich and entertaining note-takers. All quotes are taken from their recollections. To avoid burdening the list, military ranks and titles are omitted, unless essential. Rather than...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?